This holiday season, is the Nintendo Switch something you should want or want to get for someone special to you? Well, the Switch has been out since March, and man, it's been quite a year. And of course, if you're coming to a show called Switch Sunday, you want only the most unbiased opinion on this very trying matter. So, on today's video, we're going to be going over 3 things to consider before ultimately deciding if a Nintendo Switch should be found under your Christmas tree or your stocking or Festivus pole or whatever this holiday season. Welcome to Switch Sunday, where I'm feeling very holly and very jolly, and if you're in that mood as well, why not subscribe? And if not, well, it's fine, you know, we're accepting of pessimists here. We're talking about the Nintendo Switch, fittingly enough, and not a singular game or a group of games, but the system as a whole, from the hardware to the software to the future. So, is the Switch right for this holiday season? Well, let's go over 3 things to consider. And number 1, of course, is the system itself. What can a Nintendo Switch do? Well, it's not as powerful as, say, a PS4, Xbox, and especially not a PS4 Pro or Xbox One X. But if you're really wanting something super powerful, this ain't for you. What the Switch can do is, it has a nice screen, 720p in handheld mode and 1080p while docked and hooked up to a television, and that's all it needs to do. This can play great AAA titles like Doom, like Xenoblade, etc. in HD, you know, granted not 4K, but definitely fantastic looking HD portably, and it runs fantastically. Most games that are worth buying don't have any frame rate issues. Very few to none. The Switch is very capable, and while it doesn't have a lot of onboard storage, you can actually upgrade that using a micro SD card. Now, speaking of which, let's talk about this thing right here. Along with covering the micro SD card slot, it also acts as a kickstand, which is nice. It's a little flimsy, I'll be honest, but I've never had it break, so maybe it just feels flimsy, because the system on the whole feels very well made, including the Joy-Cons here, which can come off. And what's really cool about this, if you don't know much about the Switch, is you can either hold both in each hand and use it as one controller. You can have both of them on the system itself, or you can use each one as its own individual controller, which is fantastic for games such as Mario Kart 8. The Joy-Cons feel fantastic. They're a little small, though my huge meat clobber hands didn't have much problem with it. But if you would prefer something else, there is a Switch Pro controller, and really, the only thing that might deter you is price. Where I live, which is Canada, the Nintendo Switch is $400, more like $450 with tax. And then the Joy-Cons, like a new set of Joy-Cons is $100, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. What's a PS4 controller nowadays? $50? $100 for what's essentially a controller. Like, I wouldn't really call it 2 because most games have you use them both as one controller, and there's a multiplayer mode. I feel that's a bit ridiculous. I feel like the prices are a bit high. Let's go into the second point, which is the games. No, the weird thing about the Switch here is that it has such a good library so far. It really doesn't feel like a console that's only been out for, 9 months at this point. It launched in March. Now the Wii U, when the Wii U was out, and keep in mind, I was an early adopter. I bought that the Christmas after it came out. Like the Christmas, was that 2012, I bought a Wii U. And the Wii U kind of got a slow trickle of games. I don't want to be a downer, but I was expecting that with the Switch. But no, the Switch has had home run, like not just one, but multiple home runs with games every single month. It launched with Breath of the Wild, which granted on the Wii U, Nintendo's final Wii U game that they made. But then what else we got? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Pocket Tournament, okay, those are also Wii U ports. But what about original games? Super Mario Odyssey, what else do I need to say? Mario Odyssey, like, damn, that's going to be most people's game of the year right there. I've talked about it briefly in a previous Switch Sunday where I compared it to Zelda Breath of the Wild. Honestly, Mario Odyssey is short and sweet. It's everything I've ever wanted out of a Mario game and more. It's my new favorite 3D Mario game, and I will go that far. And then November has been crazy, and I think what happened was Nintendo took a risk by launching early in the year. But that meant that by the time we're getting to now, which is the holiday season, the Switch has a very respectable backlog of games. Xenoblade 2, Doom, there's a first-person shooter on the Switch, and it's Doom. It's fantastic from what I've seen, what I've very briefly played. I need to get on buying Doom. There are so many fantastic games on the Switch, and not just talking about the physical games. Let's go into the eShop. I did a video on the top 5 eShop games. Some of my favorite: Golf Story, a golf RPG, Mighty Gunvolt Burst. Holy crap, look, it's like Mighty number 9, except actually worth paying more than $5 for. The games on the Switch, and in my opinion, for our first year console especially, has just been a phenomenal lineup. For those wondering, I'm not going to throw it, I promise. And actually now I'm starting to doubt myself. I'm going to put that over there. So I've mentioned the PlayStation 4 before in this video, but let's go ahead and get on to the third point, which is how does the Switch compare on the whole to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One? And now, as far as power goes, yes, those are more powerful consoles, but really and truly, if you just want to play games on the most powerful console imaginable, you most likely will, or already have, built a PC. How does the Nintendo Switch, as far as library goes, how does it compare with exclusives? On the whole, how would I rank it? In fact, how would I rank all 3 of the major consoles? Well, Xbox One's in dead last. They've had some interesting exclusives announced at E3, but I feel like a lot of those have been canceled. Only game I'd really buy it for is Cuphead, and that's on Steam on PC, so womp womp. And yeah, they released the One X, which is the most powerful console of all time right now, which is great and all, but what's the point of buying the most powerful console of all time when there's nothing exclusive on it? If really and truly, I said you're better off building a PC. PlayStation 4 has had some fantastic titles for it, and there's definitely a lot of really good stuff on that there. You know, some good RPGs, there's been Ys 8, shooters, you know, your Call of Duties and whatnot, and that's cool. But I feel like the Switch has had better releases on the whole this year. Of course, you get those Nintendo exclusives, you know. You get your Mario Odysseys, your Breath of the Wild, your Pokken Tournaments, your Mario Karts, all that awesome, fantastic stuff. But then, everything that's a multi-platform release, what you have to keep in mind with the Switch is games like Doom, games like L.A. Noire, games like Batman, the Telltale series, games like Sonic Forces, which I still say is a good game. Not great, but still very good. Not even very good. It's just good, but it's fun. Because the Switch versions of these multi-platform games have really had the time put in to make them optimized for the Switch. We're not talking about the Wii, where the Switch version is inferior. In many cases, the Switch version is the best version of these games for no other reason that even if a game like Doom, for example, can only run at 30 frames a second in handheld mode, that's fine, because as long as it looks well and plays smoothly, these are AAA titles that you can take on the go. You have all these fantastic games on the Switch that I feel like what puts the Switch above and beyond the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One is the mere fact that it is the Switch. The mere fact it doesn't matter if it's a Nintendo console. If this was a Sony console, if Sony had made the Switch, I'd still call it better, because if they had pulled off a library like this and made it so, yes, you can play these fantastic AAA titles on the go when no other console can do that. I mean, the Vita kind of has that PS4 streaming thing, but that's not the same. This is legitimately playing these games on a handheld console, in a handheld mode. You don't get that on any other platform. That alone puts the Switch above and beyond, in my opinion. And that's why I feel that if you have the money to spend, if not, there's nothing wrong with going for a 3DS, especially since that has a much larger backlog. But if you're really willing to spend the money on a Switch, put that under the Christmas tree this year, you know, wrap it up, make it all nice, put some bows on it, it's worth your time, it's worth your money, because as skeptical as I was in the Switch, I remember when I first bought the Switch, I was like, I'm skeptical of this. I don't know where this is going to go. I can say I do not regret my purchase, and if anything, I think the Switch has already more than paid for itself with how much I've played it. So there you go. Buy a Switch. It's a great thing to give as a Christmas present this year, and really and truly, and this is okay, you don't have to tell anyone, if you want to use this video and justify it to say your spouse or parents or whatever as a reason to buy a Switch for yourself as a gift, that's completely okay, because it's definitely worth it. But perhaps I'm just rambling on at this point, as I tend to. Why not leave your thoughts on the Switch and what games you want to see coming to it in the future, or what games you're most excited for that are coming out for the Switch in 2018, down in the comment section below. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to Stuff We Play for more fantastic content like this, or at least I hope it's fantastic. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. So with that, thank you very much for watching, stay classy, and I will see y'all next time.